Well, this particular project is called Incubating Civic Leadership, and it is a project that aims to bring together people from academia, from communities, from civic society organizations to work together in order to share their experiences and their knowledge about incubating civic leadership, which basically means how you can help local community groups, how you can help citizens to develop the confidence and the capabilities and the capacity to take initiatives within their local environment. So we have a little bit of funding that aim to create that space that allow us to share experiences about civic leadership and how you enable civic leadership, but also to co-create new ways of incubating civic leadership, but also to test them, to develop prototypes where we test how you can develop these processes and spaces.
I don't feel I am a leader. I just run a sports association, and that's how I see myself. So when I did get invited to do this program, I was intrigued more than anything just to see what I could learn.
Quite often when you're working in a community as a volunteer, you feel that it's all down to you. I sometimes worry about a lot of our volunteers. They volunteer a lot and they can get a bit burnt out.
I'm very keen to get, I don't want to be the person, if you know what I mean. I want to be a part of an idea that other people can buy into and carry on in their own way.
Generally, a lot of things already run by communities. People really take up charge and, have an idea and they go with it. But we sort of know that this happens, but we don't formalise it. We just sort of expect it to be there. And we need people to understand a little bit more that there are Emilys and Dons, but also that Emily and Dons need support. And is that what we're trying to do, is to create more support for the people that are already civic leaders or want to become civic leaders, so that they understand how they can communicate to the wider community and get more support.
The important bit was to try and share different ideas, because there's different perceptions of what civic leadership is or what it could be. Others focus more on the role of the local authorities, for example. Others focus more on the role of voluntary organizations or intermediary organizations. Others focus more on sort of citizen-led action and activism. And the challenge is how you can bring all these different things together and how you can bring all these different sectors together to have conversations.
A critical point was the discovery of the importance to turn these conversations into initiatives, which is, to some extent, it's obvious, but that is a big gap in what is happening in civic leadership in the local environments, is that yes, there are places for conversations to some extent, but we don't have the appropriate spaces and places that will enable this transition from having conversations and sharing into something that will drive you to take an initiative and take an action. It is an evolution of an approach that we used in the previous project, we will call cross-pollination. It's an approach where people come together in a shared place, where people are sharing interests, they're sharing cultural practices that they're doing, they're sharing the projects that are running at the moment. So it's a quite fluid space at the initial stage of sharing things that I do, that share things that I want to be, and some of them with fun activities. And slowly you start developing certain commonalities between people and groups, that these things are important for both of us. And you bring those together and you start formulating certain ideas and concepts that people feel passionate to do together.
There was a lot around the sort of the cross-pollination method that was really interesting. For us, that would be really, really useful for certain types of community organizing, especially when you've got a lot of sort of local interests that may not have a common goal, and trying to draw out that kind of sense of a shared outcome, and then unpicking, okay, what are the assets, what are the resources that we can pull into that, and sort of having a structured way to facilitate that conversation was a really, really useful insight.
When the project started, we were still in lockdown. And obviously, a lot of the objectives we had about bringing people together were sort of colored by this. So we had to do a lot of things online. And there was a lot to learn there about the way that digital spaces can sometimes also help facilitate conversations. But I think we were lucky that towards the end, we were actually able to do these little pilot experiments in physical spaces. And I think that interaction between the digital space and the physical space is quite important. It's certainly something we need to develop more. But there's a lot of interesting things that these different modes of interaction bring into the conversation. In Fieldwood Broadway, they used the market in order to bring people together to talk about their projects and how they can engage more people into the conversation. And in Redbridge, they used an outdoor space to start engaging young people and families into the discussion about what could happen, but what could physically happen.
So Fieldwood Broadway Working Group is a group of local residents who have come together because they are concerned about the way development is happening in the area, and they want to help shape the regeneration of what was a really vibrant shopping area back in the 60s and 70s and early 80s, and is now very run down. So they want to help shape that with the council to improve it going forward into the future.
It's been brilliant. It's been really good to see how people are keen to create a future, but create a future together that involves everybody. And that's been really fantastic, the amount of energy and enthusiasm in the community.
We only started our group late January this year, so 2021, and the biggest thing is just trying to get our head around all of the different plans there have been by the council over the past 10, 15 years and how we can fit in with that. The other thing that we have been trying to do, which has been really important, is to engage more local people to get involved with it. So we have a store at the Fieldwood Market, which is a monthly market, and that store is around engagement with local people to help them realise that, one, that we're here and is local resident led. We are listening to people's ideas about what they want to see, what they like about the Broadway, what they dislike, and what changes they think need to be made to improve it.
So this pop-up today is a real experiment in, well, what would happen if you just put things out on the street? Will people come and join in? How will they react? How will they interact? And how will they interact with each other? It's been really fun, actually. It's been a really nice afternoon, and lots of families have stopped. And I think that's the thing that's really struck me. So often spaces are very age-specific. They're very formal play and making spaces and meeting spaces. And actually the idea was, if the things are there and you just allow people to use them and be there together, actually they do stop, they talk, they have nice conversations, and it really doesn't take much. We just put out a table, a few plants. We've had plants that people can take away, and people have really enjoyed that. What's been especially nice is seeing people just grabbing chalk and sitting down on the ground and drawing and playing and not worrying about the mess that they're making. It's brought joy to other people walking past. So it's been a really lovely little experiment, and I hope it will encourage more people to do it.
One of the key learnings that are emerging is that we need to think about incubating civic leadership by creating an organic set of places, digital, physical, where these conversations can happen in a playful way and joyful way, in a way where people can discover their passions and connect their passions. And that's key, because this is the transitions that I was talking before, the transition where something which is a conversation and something that it is, oh, I don't like this particular corner of my city, become a passion, becomes something that's of value for you. I want to do that because that matters. And the creation of these places, rather than, a specific consultation process, even a workshop where it has specific purpose, let's work together to find a solution to a problem, it doesn't feel that works that well. It is more about this open-ended explorative spaces and places where people discover their own passions, but also how their passions connect with each other.
And it's important that those spaces create the time and the space for people to explore those conceptions of where they come from and reveal the differences that there are, but also the commonalities. And sometimes it does help, for example, overcome barriers that relate to language or terminology, how you express yourself in that setting, and also sometimes help overcome misconceptions that are ingrained for a long time. You know, for example, the relationships between local authorities and citizens. It's important to understand the differences, but also to understand where people come from, because there might be common things that you haven't thought about.
If I describe what civic leadership is, from my learning in this project, it can be anyone. Anybody that wants to take on a small project and lead people, who has an idea and wants to progress the idea. It can be anyone. You don't have to have a degree, you don't have to have experiences, you just have to be passionate about something and just take it forward from there.
Yeah, I must admit that at first I had my doubts. I did have my doubts. I thought, I'm a working class guy here now. I'm going to be talking to people that's been to university, colleges. Are they going to be, frightfully, or what? I didn't know what to expect, to be quite honest. But I was pleasantly surprised that, this group of people, which I always felt a bit uncomfortable about, are more than prepared to listen to you, but you've got to meet them halfway. Because they're learning as much as we're learning.
Working with the Open University has given us an opportunity to have the market stall. We're just a group of residents. We didn't have any money to help fund any extra bits and pieces. So just having that little bit of seed money to fund having a stall for the year, to help pay for little bits and pieces that we needed. It wasn't hundreds of thousands of pounds, just in the hundreds and stuff. That has been really key. Also getting together with other communities who are doing a similar type of incubator project in other parts of the UK, and finding out how theirs is going on and finding out about their ideas and whether their ideas are some things that we can use in our approach. That's been really good, yeah.
This is an important role sometimes that these kinds of projects play, that they create this space and time for people to come together and to be outside their everyday worries and problems and actions, and to reflect on what they're doing, reflect on their relationships with others, and opening up the conversation. It's something that we are finding it's quite important.
One of the things we've learned as well is that there is a lot of nurture and support needed still to make it easy for people. And I think we'll continue through research to try and find mechanisms. Some of it is about making those little bits of money available, or just buying some nice kit like we did today, a nice box of arts and crafts material. But some of it is just helping people have conversations and bring them together in a safe environment for those conversations that you don't often find. And I think that's been one of the great successes of this project, is we've created a safe space where people can come and explore those ideas. They might not go away and do all of them. We've done a couple of them, but at the end of the day, it's about getting the conversation started and then really asking, well, how can I help move it on? And helping people not worry about it. You know, we're all so afraid of things going wrong, of failure. We're so averse to risk, but also, you know, putting those little bits of nurture and joy into it as well. I think we forget the joy a bit too much.
What I've learned is how to communicate with other people, how to involve and engage other people. So it's pushed me out of my comfort zone a little bit, because I'm not used to approaching people and asking them for their opinions. And I think from this program today especially, we're trying to engage the community, and which is really important, especially with Redbridge growing.
I just find it all very exciting, really. You know, I'm thinking, wow, you know, our benchmark has really risen in the last couple of months. It really has now. That was the reply to most answers. But that's not happening now. People are looking at you and asking questions. And I'm thinking that's what we want. We want people to ask questions. We want people to challenge. We're trying to get people just to express things they would actually like to see in the community, which is not a done thing up here. Long gone now are the days when people come in and say, this is what you will have. Now we just say, on your bike. It's really good that we've got people, prepared to be vocal now.